Put yourself in this position. It's nearing the end of the 16th century. You live in Scotland, in a council area known as East Lothian, just off the country's eastern coast. It's a quiet town, village-like and quaint. You've just finished a day of work as a midwife. After returning to your home, you're greeted by your family, and begin preparing the evening's meal. Just then, a knock. You open the door. What you see is staggering. A group of men in uniform. Next to them, a horde of townspeople, angry and disillusioned. The councilmen read aloud a document requesting for your arrest on behalf of accusations of practicing witchcraft. Soon after, you're taken away and placed in an isolated cell, where you'll soon be tried. This was the fate of Agnes Sampson, a woman who was accused of witchcraft in 1590, during the reign of James VI. Sampson was a key figure in a series of hearings known as the North Berwick Witch Trials, which is, today, regarded as the first of major Scottish witch trials. What made her such a fascinating character was her age. She was a little older than the rest of the purported witches, and her demeanor was oftentimes cited as innocent, gentlewoman, not the type of person who would be conjuring evil spirits and placing curses upon people. Much of her description contrasts greatly with what her accuser, Gillis Duncan, proclaims. The pamphlet News of Scotland took into serious consideration what Duncan recounted, and later published her story. In her account, Duncan claimed that the devil had licked them with his tongue, making Sampson, as well as the other Scottish men and women Duncan accused, a servant of Satan. Duncan continued to describe reports of Agnes Sampson meeting with the devil, and claimed that Sampson had obtained a miraculous healing ability. Because Agnes Sampson refused to discuss the accusation that she was a witch, the council had her tortured, using a device called a witch's bridle, which is an ironclad headgear that constricts the face and contains sharp prongs that pierce the evildoer's mouth. It's both painful and publicly humiliating. Eventually, her confession was extracted out of torture, as she admitted to everything recorded in Duncan's publication. Agnes Sampson was executed the following January of 1591. Councilmen use a technique known as garroting, which involves strapping Sampson to a chair and strangling her. At the same time, Sampson was taken and burnt at the stake, as many other witches were. Sampson is just one of many examples of the accused during the North Berwick witch trials. Many other well-respected figures in East Lothian and North Berwick were tortured with similar devices such as thumbscrews and the forcible removal of fingernails, beside gaining notable attention for the cruelty and torture mechanisms. The North Berwick witch trials occurred during the time of James's marriage to Princess Anne of Denmark. In Denmark, similar witch trials were occurring, and James noticed this on his trip to Marianne. Out of fear and wanting to ensure safety of James's own people, he attended the North Berwick witch trials and encouraged councilmen to continue to pursue the witch hunt. Later, his attendance on the North Berwick witch trials would prove deeply instrumental, as James would go on to write Demonology in 1597, which defended witch hunting. In his book, James describes the urgency to capture and prosecute these individuals in witchcraft. Such assaults of Satan are most certainly practiced, and that the instrument thereof merits both severely to be punished, James wrote. Approximately 5,000 people were tried for witchcraft during this period, a statistic accredited much to James's ambition to out the accused. Shortly after his publication of Demonology, James launched what is known today as the Great Scottish Witch Hunt of 1597. All the trials in the Great Witch Hunt centered upon diabolism, which focused on any relationships or dealings with Satan, hence the term diabolical, commonly used today. Out of all major Scottish witch hunts noticed in Scottish history, the least is documented about the Great Scottish Witch Hunt of 1597. Historians consider James's Demonology to have been the catalyst of the witch hunt. Nonetheless, little else is known as to what caused such extensive paranoia. The most prominent case that summates the fear and paranoia of this great witch hunt concerns the trial of Margaret Atkin. After her arrest in April of 1597, Atkin confessed under torture to having practiced witchcraft, Subsequently, Acwin helped councilmen identify other purported witches. This identification process became known as the Atkin Commission, and many more people were put on trial for witchcraft. Atkin's reliability as a key witness, however, was eventually questioned by councilmen. Toward the end of the summer, the witch hunt had died down tremendously, as it appeared that less people were being tried. Many researchers of the Scottish witch hunts in the late 16th century emphasized that they began out of the root of ignorance. The fear of not knowing could be the greatest of all fears, since it questions what we all know to be true in the physical world. For instance, ignorance in spirituality and religion garnered skepticism among the conservative, puritanical sects. The idea of Calvinism, which upholds the belief of predestination, that people on earth are inherently good or bad, rather damned or redeemed, sparked much of the paranoia. Secret meetings probably scared Calvinist men and women for various reasons. Meetings with Satan are, at fundamental root, evil. The fact that people were holding secret meetings imply trickery and deceit, especially if those meetings were conducted by the creator of the evil himself. And again, what we don't know beyond the tangible world is the most terrifying of fears. The fact that members of Calvinist and Presbyterian sects did not know or did not have accurate, concrete evidence of these evil practices existing in the world was enough to cause paranoia. Also, these conservative groups contain the same members who question other advancements of early modern Scotland, such as medicine. Medical advances dealt with healing practices and new herbal remedies that were beyond anything people had ever experienced before. These advancements were mind-blowing and hard to understand for people, especially those who had maintained similar thought processes in their early religions, like Calvinists. Thus, it is not surprising that members of Calvinist sects assumed out of ignorance, or not knowing, that these medical remedies entangled with their own spirituality, and that it was something evil or witch-like. Ideas that medical advancements involved summoning spirits and healing with the help of Satan persisted in the minds of many Calvinists. Similar to how many elderly people today find the concept of wireless technological advancements incredulous, a lot of Calvinists drew assumptions that unfairly linked medical advancements with witchcraft. After the decline in witch hunting that year, James himself eventually began to limit his demands for pursuing a nationwide witch hunt. Although reasons for limiting the witch hunt are not directly stated by James, his hesitations are most likely rooted in the same unreliability of the accusers. How can you rely upon the accounts of witchcraft when there are no physical, visual proofs? James must have pondered this question, and realized that paranoia and the power of suggestion were key factors that led to accusations of witchcraft.